Hello, this is a video that is a summary of the Excel workshop on formulas that the Diocese of Joliet presented recently for parish business managers and parish staff. I'm Sharon Hauk, and I work here at the Diocese of Joliet in information technology. And this workshop covers formulas, how to do math with Excel, functions, summary functions, and working with different sheets, with more than one sheet. So first of all, let's do a little review. I'm going to go to this sheet 1 and take a look at the cell address. So this cell is the combination of the column and row, A1, this is B1, C1. If you look here in the corner, there's a name box that will tell you the cell address that you're in. Also, this is the formula bar. This is important because sometimes you will see one thing down here in the cell, but the formula bar will actually show you the math or the function or formula that's involved. And you'll notice that they are two different things. One is the result of the function or formula, and the formula itself will appear here in the formula bar. Also, let's remember what a reference to a range looks like. So if I have a range of cells, let's say A1, A2, and A3, the range of those things will appear in a formula as A1 colon A3, whatever the last cell is. All right, let's take a look at some of this in action. We're going to do an auto sum. So here I have I'm going to get rid of one of these rows so we can see it a little better. A column of numbers. Let's first of all make it prettier. So I'll apply the accounting format. Let's do that here as well. But how do we get a sum here in the bottom of this list? Well, there's a whole variety of ways of doing it, but the easiest is to come up here on the ribbon and click Auto Sum. It's going to show us some math. So we're going to start out with an equal symbol, then the function sum. The syntax on this is going to be an open parentheses and then a close parentheses. And within those parentheses, you'll have the range, in this case, for this formula, the range that you want to sum up. I'll press enter, and there's the sum. Let's change this to be something different. So right now, I can see that this is displaying the result of the sum. In the formula bar, I see the actual formula that's there. If I click up here, it'll also show me the formula down here. That's helpful. By the way, if you're ever looking at formulas and you think you've messed something up, just press escape. It gets you out of there. But this time, let's delete that and try something different. Instead of just clicking on auto sum, I'm going to click on the drop down and pick this time average. So same kind of syntax, starting with an equal symbol, then the function average, and in the parentheses, the range that we're going to get an average of. There's my average value. Change that a little bit so we can see it better. This time, let's do a count. So this literally just tells you how many. Oh, if I was doing a count, I wouldn't have it in dollars. So that would be 6 of these. All right, these are all called aggregate functions. Sum, average, count, min, max. They're up here on this drop down in the ribbon, which is very helpful. So I'll put it back to a sum, and it went back to dollars, and that's all good. All right, now let's take a look at some of the same stuff, but instead of using functions like sum, average, min, max, and so forth, we're going to look at something to do with dates. Whenever you're doing math, you start out with an equal symbol, but also when you're using other functions as well, you start out with an equal symbol in Excel. So this function I'm going to type is a date function. I'm going to type now and put the parentheses there. Nothing inside the parentheses this time. This now is just going to give me the system date and time. Sometimes you need that. You need to know what today's date is, for example, if you wanted to calculate somebody's age and that kind of thing, or how long somebody has been employed at the parish or something like that. I'll press enter, and that now function gave me the current system date and time. So I'll click up here in the formula bar. We can see again what I typed now. So the equal symbol, function, now, and then two parentheses. How about another date function? So I'll leave that in B1, but now I'm going to do a month function. Starting out with equal, I'm going to type month, and then in the parentheses, I'm going to put B1. So B1 contains a date. It happens to be the current system date, but I'm going to ask the month function to actually give me the month number. So there's different ways of going about pulling things out of dates. This gives me the month number. Let's take a look at turning the month into text. So I'm going to look at B1 and use a function called text and say format it like that, which where would you find that information? Well, Excel has excellent help screens that will tell you, oh, there is a function called text. Here's the ways that you use it, including use this MMMM as a way to pull out the word for the month. So depending on what you might need out of something, you could use either of those functions to manipulate dates. All right, let's look at something called flash fill. This is very helpful. This is in the newer versions of Excel, and this comes up a lot. As a matter of fact, you used to have to use some more sophisticated functions to get this to happen. These days, you can just do it with something on the ribbon called flash fill. Let's go about to here. Here's the scenario. I have some data in the first column. In this case, it's a full name with the first and last name together. And maybe I need to pull out just the first name. So at the top of the column here for first name, I type Molly. This is a way of telling Excel, follow this pattern and do this for the other rows. And then on the ribbon, I'm looking for something that says fill, and I'm going to click that, and I'm going to select flash fill. That will automatically fill in based on the pattern I've shown Excel the whole rest of that column. I'm going to do the same thing with last name. Let's put in Dempsey and do a flash fill for that. And it isn't perfect, especially if the column you're working on as the original column has some anomalies, like some of them have middle initials and some don't and things like that. You still have to look through this, but Excel does an excellent job of filling in a column based on your pattern. All right, let's take a look at a function that isn't like sum or count. It isn't a date, but is intended instead to work with text itself. I'm going to do an uppercase function. And in Excel, the uppercase function, start out with the equal symbol, is upper. So for some reason, maybe I need to have this name in uppercase. So I clicked on the name, so it's selected A2, closing the parentheses. I'm going to press enter, and now I have the text, whatever it was, in uppercase. So I want to show you that again. Let's take a look at what the function looks like. Upper, and then it's referring to A2. Now I'm going to copy this down the rest of the column here. So there's two ways I'm going to show you how to do this. One is you could do a copy and then highlight this stuff and paste, or, and I'm going to do an undo, or you can, and I'm going to escape to get rid of my little marching ants there. You could do this, which I like a lot. In the lower right hand corner there is a little handle. You can click and drag. That's going to copy that function as well. Very powerful. All right, and when it copied the function, let's look and see what Excel did to the cell reference. So in the first case, Molly Dempsey, it said upper and it was referring to A2. Now I copied it down a row and I have upper and it's referring to A3. Similarly here, A4. So Excel was smart enough to change the reference to the cell to match the row where I had copied stuff. So very powerful. That's called a relative reference. So I started out with A2, but when I copied it, it changed that cell reference to reflect whatever line, whatever row I was on. Very helpful. Okay, let's take a look at doing some math. And we're first going to do some math just by hand, so it's not a function. And these are the operators that we're going to use. The plus symbol, minus is just a dash, multiply is an asterisk, divide is a slash. So I'll start out with an equal symbol, and I'll say A1 plus B1. Press enter. This one will do this cell minus this cell, pressing enter. This one, this cell, times this cell, pressing enter. We're going to do one more divide. This cell, divide by that cell. So you can see that you can do all kinds of math, and if you use parentheses, you can stack up all kinds of different things to manipulate numbers in Excel and do math. What I want to show you now is if we move these around, the cell references will also change. So let's focus first just on this first row, A1 plus B1. Well, now I'm going to add a row above this. I'm going to insert a row. Possibly that just wrecked my math, but it didn't. I can tell you right now that it was smart enough to know, oh, Sharon just moved this to somewhere else on the sheet. I will change that cell reference to match where it's been moved. So it was moved down a row. Now these references are A2 and B2. Okay, let's take a look at some more math. And this time I'm going to show you something interesting about if you have to refer to a cell that doesn't move. Okay. This scenario is I have some items, a textbook, lunch, coffee, a booklet, and then some number that are purchased. So 5 textbooks were purchased. Each textbook costs $10. I'm going to do a little math here. Start with the equal symbol. Say I've got $10 and 5 of them were sold. That's a multiply. That was $50 cost right there. All right, now I'm going to use the handle and drag this down here. That's super. Now let's get the taxes involved. I have a tax rate here of 7%. Let's include that calculation in our math, and you're going to see how I can use parentheses to handle that. So we've got the first thing. Let's see if I can widen this just a little bit before I do that. The first thing I have here is the cost of the textbooks themselves. So I'm going to put parentheses around that so that we know that is one thing. Now I'm going to add the taxes. And the taxes, I still need B4 times C4. I still need the cost of the books, but then times the tax rate. That, I don't want to type it in by hand, there, times B1. So hopefully everybody has got the math here okay. We've got the $50 plus the taxes on the $50. And I want you to notice that it says B1 there for the taxes, right? Pressing enter. So this is a little more expensive because now taxes are involved. I'm going to copy this down. And bad things happened. What happened to my math? It got goofed up. Let's see what happened. I'm going to click here, take a look. And what happened was now my tax value is not pointing to B1 anymore. Because I copied this formula down, the tax cell also moved down one, and it moved off of B1. It moved on to B2 where there is no tax rate listed, and so my math is not working. I need to be able to copy this without having B1 change. And I will tell you how to do that. All you have to do is, and this syntactically is a little strange because it doesn't have to have anything to do with currency, but this is the method that Excel has for setting a reference that doesn't change. You put the dollar sign in front of the, in this case, B, and a dollar sign in front of the 1. And this is the instruction to Excel. Hey, when I copy this formula around, that's great. You can change all the other cell references to reflect where the formula has been copied to, but do not change B1. That should still stay B1 because I want it to go back and refer to that tax rate no matter where I copy this. So let's press enter, and now we're going to copy this. That's much better. Now the math is working. Let's take a look at this copied math, and good. When I copied it down a row, it picked up the B5 and the C5, but because I made an absolute cell reference for B1 with that dollar sign in front of the B and the dollar sign in front of the 1, it still referred back to my tax rate. That's called an absolute cell reference, and sometimes you'll need that. Okay, let's take a look at what happens if, in fact, something like the tax rate were on a different sheet. This happens. That's no problem at all. All you have to do is pay attention to the sheet name, in this case, tax, and then add that into your function. So I should have looked at the A1. So this is an A1 over on this sheet. I need to add the word tax, that's the sheet name, and then an exclamation point, and then make sure I've got this reference correct, which is actually A1 on the tax sheet. So this is what I want you to pay attention to right here. When you need to refer to a cell, whether it's a relative reference or an absolute reference, on another sheet, no problem. Just put the sheet name and an exclamation point in front of the cell reference, and it'll work just fine. So I'm going to press enter, and now this is even more taxes on that one. Okay. Let's take a look now at this thing. I think it's on this sheet right here. Yes. I have something that I want to show you that has to do with conditional formatting. So this isn't math or a formula per se, but I think it's an interesting thing and I want to show it to you. I'm going to highlight this series of numbers, and then I'm going to go up here on the ribbon. I'm on the Home tab, and I'm going to say Conditional Formatting and say highlight the cells that are equal to, and I'll say highlight the cells that are equal to 15. How about that? And say OK. So this you could have it show me the ones that are greater than a certain number or less than, all kinds of different choices under this conditional formatting. So even top and bottom rules, like to show me, highlight in green the top 10 values and things like that. All right, so that was a kind of footnote. Now I want to show you a formula that is very useful. It's not with numbers like a sum. It's not a date. It's not text. It's called if. But it's very powerful. So we're going to take a look at how to use an if function. And it's not just one thing going inside the parentheses here. A minute ago, we were looking at a range inside the parentheses, like sum, or nothing inside the parentheses, like now. In this case with if, there's three things that are going in there. So the first thing is something I'm checking. So I'm going to check, in this case, if this cell is equal to that cell. And I'm going to say, if it is equal, then say equal. Otherwise, say not equal. you could make these anything you wanted. Oh, in this case, I guess my scenario is, did they already pay? Did they pay enough, or do they still owe money? Fine, I could have changed the values in my if statement to say, money due or something like that. I want you to notice something in here though before I press enter. See those commas? That's the important part of this function. The if function takes three things: what you're checking, then comma, what you want it to do if that's true, comma, what you want it to do if it's false. So I'll press enter, and these two things are equal, so it says equal. I'm going to copy this down, and you can see that my if function is working in each case. Let's change this to 33. I'll press enter. So my if function updated, and the conditional formatting also updated. Everything in Excel, unless someone has turned off this setting, updates automatically. Your functions will update whenever content is changed. Charts will update, totals will update. So this is good stuff. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is something that's going to allow you to find all kinds of different functions that I didn't cover. So I'll just put my cursor in an empty cell, go up here to the formula bar where there's nothing right now, and point out that there is a little insert function tool just to the left of the formula bar. If you click this, you'll see a list of all kinds of functions. These are the most recently used functions. You can look at all of them: financial functions, text functions, statistical functions, logical. The if one would have been a logical function, and scroll down through looking for different things that you might need to use. You can also do a search. And if you find something that you're interested in using, there's a little description here. And also, if you click this link, it'll take you to a help screen all about the function and examples on how to use it. So again, where was that? That was right here to the left of the formula bar. And don't forget that the best place to get more information about any of the Office products, including Excel, is support.office.com. That's Microsoft's own learning portal with all kinds of good stuff on there, videos and articles and so forth. Thank you for watching this video.